Thanks for joining me on. For me, it's December 31st, but for you guys, it's probably December 30. Oh no, it would be December. Oh no, yeah, December 30 still. But yeah, without further ado, let's get started with our fundamental analysis. Let me just boot it up for us. Can't start these shows without fundamental analysis. Okay, sharing my screen. Please bear with the mobile setup. Allow. Yep. So yeah. Um, Let me see. There was a question in chat or a statement. All good here, just enjoying time with family. Of an A plus setup. I know there's not many people here today. Oh yeah, absolutely. Um, so I guess uh there's a lot of things that go into creating a great setup. There's the technicals. There's also the fundamentals part. So doing this before making a setup is always a good thing. So, and of course, there's my general trading routine, but I'll go over it live, and I can hear my laptop dying. But yeah, so looking at it right now in the crypto fear and greed index, we are at a 24, so we are in fear. So, there's a little bit more confidence compared to last week's extreme fear, but not a lot. And I kind of foresee us dumping again. Uh, so we'll have to see what the future holds on that point. Let's look at the liquidation map, and I'll refresh just to make sure we are accurate. So here on the Bitcoin exchange liquidation map, if it loads, um, yeah, like I started this live at 90%, I am at a whopping 81%. So that's fantastic. We can see there's more downside liquidity, more longs, and there's a little bit less shorts, and we can also see that there are nice clusters on both sides. If we go to the 7-day, there's more longs than there are shorts, right? And in terms of liquidity clusters, the longs here look more appetizing from sort of a market maker's perspective. If we go to the 30-day, obviously the imbalance is still to the upside, but notice how you've got such a big cluster here, and you've got an incredibly tiny cluster of shorts here, which tells me we want to go down for the time being. Let's go to the liquidation heat map, and you can see here on the 24-hour um, chart, we do have a huge cluster of liquidity at around 88,000 and a lot more to the downside. If we go zoom out to the 3-day and see how that might look like, there's not a lot of clusters up here. The next cluster is sort of at around 90,000, and then you have a cluster here at 86,000. You go to the 1 week, and this is going to be incredibly slow. There's not a lot of clusters up to the upside, and most of it is down here at around 86,000. So that tells me that there is a possibility we head up a little bit, right? But we go back down to get those liquidity clusters to the downside. If we go to our RSI heat map and change it to the 12-hour for our purposes, wow, that is incredibly fast, right? We do have some that are oversold and some that are overbought. We're sort of neutral in a lot of things. So we do have a short on ZEC coming. I have to check um, whether it's on its way to entry and whatnot. But what I can see here is that generally with our bigger caps, which are the guys over here, they're either floating in neutral or near weak. So maybe looking at ADA or Aster might be something. We do have a long on Ondo coming. Um, so that's also something we can look at. I also want to look at ICP today because it might hold something pretty interesting for us. So with that said, I think we're good with fundamental analysis. We've gotten the gist of it. So let's basically address the elephant in the room, which is going to be how to get an A plus setup. So I will now go live. Man, it is slow. It is incredibly slow, but you know the good thing is my laptop is really acting like a hand warmer for the cold. So I don't know. Okay, it's incredibly slow. It's not supposed to be this slow, and I made sure to load it in beforehand. But you know what? Let's look at Bitcoin first. And of course, it is loading, right? But I wanted to look at it from more of a swing perspective first before we do any maybe like scalps, right? Okay. It's a really slow day today. Even my laptop thinks so. Okay, you know what? Solana loaded at least the CPO plus, so we can work with Solana for now. So looking at Solana here on the 30 minutes and 4 hours, right, we can see that Solana basically did get sort of a recovery move, but that sort of got rejected down here. So we reached equilibrium, we didn't get to the FEG up above, and now we are headed down. Our CPO plus is pointed down. We had good volume and it completely disappeared on my face. Uh, Come on, guys. It's just it's just 8 indicators. It's not that hard to load. But okay, Bitcoin's here, so let's do Bitcoin first. We can see some heavy money outflow here on the 30 minutes, but bullish volume is increasing. Now, that is weird, right? Typically, when you get money outflow and bullish volume increasing, that tells you that there are more buyers stepping in, but the quality of those buyers is imbalanced to the bearish side. So that's sort of a divergence in and of itself, right? So what that tells us is, and you can see here that money outflow is decreasing as volume is increasing, is that we could get a move to the upside. And that's sort of what we were looking at in the FA earlier, that around 88,000, there's a pretty decent pocket of liquidity that we can grab. And so if we look here at the charts and we see where that liquidity might be, it could be anywhere in these FEGs, right? You have an FEG here at around 88,000, 88,400, another one with the highest volume traded. Why does it keep doing that? At around, what is this? No, it's gone. Let's say 89-ish thousand, right? Yeah, around 89,127. So come on, Bitcoin, don't fail me now. You got this, buddy. Yeah, so it'll be around here, 89.4, and it was around lower here. So what I'll be looking at, Malik, is essentially where is the highest probability of market makers or the algorithm being happy with the amount it's liquidated, and where does our TA say that could be? Because while market makers only look at liquidity, what's important to understand is that in terms of technicals, in terms of structure, they can't always get to those liquidity hotspots unless they have enough volume and enough sort of money flow to tell you that they can reach those hotspots. Oh, hey, Reggie Classics, welcome to the show. I think we've graduated from having 4 people in the audience to a little more. Hey, Cranium, welcome. Hey, Eddie, welcome to the show. Relatively equal highs. Yep, right here, right on the 4 hour. Welcome, guys. I do apologize. The setup's kind of slow, opening chat's kind of slow. I remember I started this show with 90%. I'm now at 69%. And it keeps doing this. It like keeps refreshing as I'm speaking. So it's going to be a slow show and a very short show today. I'm only thinking about doing this for another uh, 80 minutes or so. But in any case, right, what we saw in the FA is that we want to essentially go up a little higher. That said, right, we look at our 4 hour, we do see that we have a peak bottom, our peak seeker with a hidden bullish div, and that's sort of playing out as we speak. Now, my concern, again, as to sort of the validity of these pumps is that when you zoom out into a semi-high time frame, I mean, 4 hours is not that high, but it is high relative to like your 30 minutes or your 15 minutes. You can see it's sort of just in a box in and of itself, and it fell out of the ascending channel, and it's sort of just chilling here. You can see that momentum here on the MVP ribbon is, I mean, it's generally below. It's trying to get above it, above the fluid zero line, but it's generally below. So I do see us still falling to the smart target projected by your Market Dynamics Pro. You can also see that in terms of our react, excuse me, it is too early and really cold. But in terms of our reactors, it's telling us that there's no trade to be made right now. So we're really just in waiting mode. Yeah, Discord can suck balls sometimes, but it's the best thing we've got. And yeah, let's look at Ethereum, right? 30 minutes, 4 hours. You know, we did get a push to the upside, especially with this bullish div and this money flow divergence telling us it's going to go up. We did get that FVG's highest volume, but and Ethereum on the higher time frame here in the 4 hour is projecting that we head up after a bounce from the zero line. But my sort of concern is it's in the same boat as Bitcoin. You're sort of in a box, and while you can draw this as sort of a ascending triangle, which, you know, in theory would be fairly bullish because you're basically retesting resistance multiple times. You tested it once, twice, and then you tested your support line and it's headed up. You know, these still have the potential to fail and keel over to the downside. Granted, you know, you did get above your fluid zero line, so that does give me confidence that ETH could probably bounce back to this liquidity block at around 3,000, but I don't know. I don't think it'll be successful in sort of breaking out because, I mean, look at your reactors. This is gearing up to become a bearish cross on your dynamic and quantum reactor. Hey, little fish, good morning. Yeah, it is. It is morning here. It's 3 a.m., 3:14, and I have to look for charging solutions in a while. I mean, starting to show at 90% down to 63%, and I should really get my battery serviced as it is. But, you know, that's not going to stop us from analyzing and doing TA. Look at Solana. It's sort of in the same boat as Bitcoin and Ethereum, so nothing new here. Generally, we could head up, right? But I'm more inclined to short these until they get to our long entries. So one coin I said I wanted to look at earlier was ICP, so Internet Computer Protocol. Let's look at ICP. So generally speaking, if I pull up the 30-minute instead of the 4 hour, ICP is definitely a very different chart in terms of just the visual aspects of it compared to the likes of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, which does give us something to work with. And we do have clear signs, like here on the 30 minutes, you are bearish, you got the bearish cross. Here on the 4 hour, your reactors are sort of just trying to get to you, right? Now, when the dynamics above the quantum, that tells me that you're gonna want to basically retest the dynamic when you're this close up. So potentially looking for a long on ICP might not be such a bad idea, especially since our 4 hour is at the bottom extremity. Now, do we want to swing this? I don't think so, because your 30 minutes isn't really decided, your 4 hours not. But if we go down to the 1 hour, maybe we can get a little bit more clarity, right? Actually, how is my audio, guys? Is it pretty decent? Because again, I just have a lapel mic today. Not really, not really much in the ways of microphones, but yeah. Thank you. All right, that's good. Okay, so interestingly enough, we did get a diamond shift here, and we did start falling down. Now, this is a new indicator that I basically asked permission to have, which is the chick magnet. And what I realized about the chick magnet is when it's so close to price action, I don't really consider it reliable enough. And and you can see here that while it says you got some upside, I don't consider that as anything too drastic. It's probably good for scalps when you think about it, because if you can get your bullish div here on the 5 minutes and really act up, and if I am able to visually plot where that chick magnet is, this could be a pretty decent scalp. But since we're kind of late to the party, if we enter here with our stop loss below the wick and then we place it up here, the RR is not that great. So I don't know if that's worth it, right? And your 1 hour is sort of denying the chick magnet because you got a diamond shift right here, you flip bearish, you twisted your ribbon on the CPO plus, and you're below the fluid 09 here on your MVP oscillator. Yeah. Hey, Jay Brignac. Welcome to the show. Yeah, thanks, guys, for dropping by. This is, again, today's going to be a relatively short show. Obviously, it's the day before New Year's Eve, but also because my laptop might give out in and of itself, so not that great. Morning. But yeah, you know what, Malik? Let's go more in depth because actually, you know what? Let me explain maybe one of my setups, my recent ones, because the confluence is most likely still there. So what I look for in a trade is essentially what do the higher time frames tell me, right? So Pengu 1 week, we didn't get that much information up until maybe October 27, right? So we have this massive wick. You can see that this is sort of looking like a macro, maybe double bottom. It's really hard to describe this, but we're probably looking at something like this, right? It's definitely making that W shape that we expect from a double bottom. It's ugly, right? It doesn't look that great. In fact, this looks like maybe someone's butt, but it is what it is. And essentially, what I noticed here on the 1 week is notice sort of that increase in bullish volume right around here. Notice how we got a reversal triangle. And of course, it is now trading below the reversal triangle. But the point is, at around this level, around our sub 0.009, the CPO Plus thinks that it's a great place for perhaps a reversal. We now also have increasing bullish volume, and we got our twist in the CPO Plus, which tells me that we're most likely going to get a reversal pretty soon. Now, when I zoom into maybe let's head over to the 12-hour chart first. Hey Reggie Classics, yeah, I mainly trade crypto, but if you have any like stocks or forex you want me to look at, just let me know. How is Queenstown? It's been beautiful. It's very quiet. It's not. It's definitely not as exciting as Auckland, I would say, but that's sort of the beauty behind it, right? The fact that you can really relax here. And I sort of did a solo trip today. I just kind of found myself going in a circle, and I thought I was lost, but then it's really easy to navigate without even having sort of Google Maps or any kind of maps on you. Yeah. Segway tour with Kevin. All right, I'll look into it. I mean, I still have about 3 days here in Queenstown, and then I'm headed off to Sydney. Then I have a day in Sydney, then I'm headed back home, and I do miss my setup. So that is what it is. Now, here on the 12 hour, what you'll see, Malik, is, oh, let me remove that, is we want to basically, at least with my strategy, we want to basically exhaust our CPO plus ribbon. And the reason we want to do that is so that we get sort of that maximum move up. And we want to enter at a place of support and resistance to really reinforce sort of our entry. We don't want to enter willy nilly. I know there are people who see the opportunity and they get in market buy. Um, at least for me, I personally am averse to that. But if that's your strategy, then, and it works, right? It works more often than it doesn't, let's say 70% of the time, then I think that that's pretty viable and you can stick with that. But at least for me, I enter at support and resistance. And what is the support or resistance here? Well, obviously we have the previous week low just above it, but this purple line is sort of an indicator from the Whale Kit by Jay Bravo, and it sort of plotted this, and I figured that this is a great place to enter. And you can see that based on this candle, I mean, even if you don't have this, right? Based on this candle, most people are going to set up a long with their stop loss right below that that swing low, and that means that just below this wick, there's going to be stop losses, emotional capitulation, and whatnot. And so we want to enter at these high probability zones or where retail is most likely to get wiped out. And by the time we get here, your CPO plus will probably be around here-ish, right? It's going to get exhausted. Another reason why I think we should go long is if we look at our MVP oscillator, our fluid zero line is incredibly close to sort of that bottom extremity. And when it's this close to the bottom extremity, everything above it is bullish in terms of momentum. Now we sort of phase through it, but you can see that we're losing steam and we're probably going to come on to go back. But eventually, there will come a point where you really don't have any more room to go down, and it becomes sort of that bearish squeeze in terms of the oscillator, and then it's going to pop up to the upside, and a very tiny move, even if it's just phasing through the fluid zero line, is going to be very, very powerful. So if we go down to, and you can see here, right, our TP was based on the 1 week chick magnet, but notice how it's also the resistance here on the 12 hour. So that's sort of what I'm looking for in an A plus setup. I want to enter where I know price is most likely going to experience some kind of stop, whether that's a support, whether that's a resistance. I want to exhaust my CPO plus as much as possible, because if it's exhausted, then we can maximize the sort of um, retracement or the return move, right? And I also want to enter where the macro time frames are telling me to go. So you saw in the weekly how we're sort of pushing up to the upside with Pengu. We're getting good volume. We're getting that ribbon twist. And so that tells me go long. Of course, there might be downside, and there's a possibility that it completely just goes up from here and doesn't go to entry, right? I mean, that's a real possibility. And wow, the door opened and there's no one there. Kind of creepy, but there's staff behind me, so I'll probably be fine. And yeah, but in any case, yeah, so that's sort of what I look for. And you can basically check multiple time frames to see if that aligns. So if we go to the 4 hour, I don't think there was anything at our entry. I think it's really just the support on the whale kit. But if not, I know on the 1 hour there is that liquidity zone. And here on the 4 hour, you are projecting a move to the upside. Oh, oopsie, don't want to move that. You're projecting a move to the upside. Oh, okay, no, it's also the discount on the 4 hour, and there's even macro support here. So, you know what? I think we're pretty okay. So, I hope that answered your question, Malik. And it's the same principle with scalping. Generally, you want to try and enter at a place of support and resistance, exhausted CPO plus, because that's more likely to sort of move in the direction you want, and then look at your MVP oscillator. So yeah. Okay, if you get a chance to look at NHQ 2020, sure. Uh, is this a stock, stock 2, stock? All right, let me look at NHQ for you. Okay. Oh, NQH, my bad. That's my bad. Is it this one? Mini NASDAQ? Yeah, contract on CME. Okay, let's have a look at it, and let me boot up my indicators. Yeah, I use fibs to determine your first take profit. So typically, I'll place the first take profit within or between the 0.5 and 0.8 618, and for me uh, that sort of setup does work a lot of the time, unless it completely just passes through the 786. So that's what I do with fibs. Um, Also, I think I have it here. Excuse me. But I do have the Fibonacci Archer box by Chart Prime, so you can basically have a look at it. Thank you, DagaDT, for sending it over. Essentially, I just have the 618 open, and I just do retracement levels. So you can do the fan, you can do the angle, but I find that having just a retracement level, maybe if you want to add the 786, you can, right? But for me, this is sort of the cleanest way to add your fibs to the chart. Yeah. So let me go back to NQH. And here on the 30 minutes, it does say we want downside, right? We got a hidden bearish div just crossing over our triple top right here. We got our peak top or peak sell, and then we do have a money flow div. So, it is giving contrasting signals, but given our money outflow, I do see maybe a tinier move down because our 4 hour, right? If we zoom out, I believe this is, yeah, it's an ascending wedge. So typically, again, this is more bullish than it is bearish, but there is a chance that you sort of keel over. And I wouldn't discount the possibility of us headed down even more, because if you look, while we are at the bottom extremity here on the CPO plus, which gauges sort of your strength, um, your direction, as well as uh, money flow volume, you notice that our momentum is headed down. We do have bottoming bars, right? And we did get a bounce off of this area right here, But notice how our fluid zero line is really high. And so typically what's going to happen if we want a nice reset, and as bearish momentum heads down, what we're going to see here is most likely a push like this on the CPO plus. It's going to head up, then head down. And what that's going to look like here on the charts usually is that we are going to basically get a nice little push up and then head down. Now, I will say that here in the 4 hour, it does kind of look like a head and shoulders. I'm not going to you know, put it lightly, right? It does look like a head and shoulders, like a very tiny head and shoulders. And if you get where the chick magnet is telling you to go, then absolutely you will get a very tiny head and shoulders. Now, is that cause for alarm? I don't think so necessarily. I do think we at least go to the dynamic reactor at around 25.6, right? It's possible we head down there. And you can see that sort of also the discount zone here on the 30-minute, right? And that wouldn't sort of conflict with what we're seeing here on the MVP oscillator. I mean, it's very possible you head down and then you sort of head back up. You know, if you're bullish enough and strong enough, that is possible, but I don't think that that's incredibly likely. So my word of caution, or at least for the immediate term, I would probably just wait for the 4 hour to maybe coil up and then short it rather than shorting it now. Because once your 30-minute is sort of at the bottom extremity, it's most likely going to bounce. So yeah, but I would short it. I would short it to maybe the dynamic reactor from wherever it's from, then just my stop loss above the previous day high. Please go through the time frame of like yesterday and how long it lasts. So the thing about yesterday's dump though, Malik, is that, well, for one, I wasn't there to see it, right? Because either I was asleep or something. I forget why I wasn't able to really be there on the dump. But essentially, let me pull up the 1 hour for you. So I'm doing 5 minutes 1 hour. Because crazy that you do 15 seconds. That's crazy, man. But to you the power. Please go through the time frame and how long it lasts. So the thing is, it's always difficult to tell you how long a dump or a pump will last. That's sort of not in the cards of any analyst, right? But what I will say is that, okay, so this was the pump to 90K, right? What I will say is that our indicators do tell us enough to understand that a pump isn't going to last. So we won't know it until it happens, how long a dump or a pump will last. But what we can see is whether or not we are overextended or exhausted. So if I zoom out, so this was the push to 90,400, right? And you could see here on the 5 minutes, just looking at the 5 minutes, you would have gotten wrecked, right? You were overbought here, you were overbought here, you were overbought here. You would have gotten wrecked if you just listened to your 5 minutes and just shorted at every single overbought, right? But that's not how you scalp, or that's not how you essentially use or do multi-time frame analysis, and that's why it's important to do so. Here on the 1 hour, right, across these pumps, you basically ignore the fact you've been overbought, right? What you're essentially looking for is when on the higher time frame do we reverse. So at this point, we are overbought across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, no. One, two, three, four, five. So we were overbought across 5 candles, right? And essentially, what we were looking for are generally just 3 points of confluence on your higher time frame. So that can be in the form of an overbought, ribbon twist, and downward reversal. That's 3. And you're not just looking for overbought, 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 overbought. Now, when I do give my signals red, I do wait for, uh, I do like project that this will go overbought or oversold at this level. But I'm also looking at generally another point of confluence, whether the check magnet says it's up top, whether the higher time frame says we're headed up. And you can use that as a point of confluence as well. And you can see at this point, right, it have been very difficult to sort of catch this. Let's be real, right? There's basically a delay as we're looking at this analytically, and we should look at this analytically rather than intuitively, because, well, our intuition can be wrong, our gut feeling can be wrong, and we want to trade this with a system like a robot, right? That's sort of the most important aspect of being a trader. And so when we look at this point, right, one thing you can say is, okay, we are overbought on the 1 hour. This candle structure is a reversing candle structure, basically a long wick to the top. Now, if this had a body, that would be better, but this is generally a reversing candle. And then on the next candle, around here, we closed red. And we can see at this point, here in the 5 minutes, we eventually did get multiple bearish divergences, a red triangle, as well as a peak seeker. So what does that tell us? Well, if we had to replay this, and I doubt I can because of how slow my laptop is at the moment, I really should upgrade. But, well, I have an agreement with my sister because this is actually her laptop and it became a hand-me-down. And in an Asian family, you don't spend on new devices until something is like completely junk, right? And I stand by it. Um, is that health? Is that generally healthy? Probably not, especially with this line of work. But I wasn't expecting this line of work up until, well, October. So thank you guys so much for all the support. But essentially, what we can see here is this peak seeker wasn't even the top, but we have the general idea or general perspective to short, right? Leading up to this point, this overbought signal was printed as soon as this closed. So we have that general idea that maybe we want to short, even if, our reactors tell us that we're bullish. And so shorting, you can either project a short slightly higher than the price action right now, or you can enter market. And for me, my weakness has always been entering market. I don't like it at all. And I get annoyed and frustrated. And so I always just limit order. But if you have the wisdom as well as um, the judgment to basically enter market, then all power to you. So what I would have done, and I realized that maybe I should hide this first, just so we can see better. And what I would have done at this point, when I got that multiple bearish div as well as this close, is I essentially would have placed stop loss above premium, right? Done this, and then aim for at least like a 1 to 1.5, 1 to 2, maybe. And that's the thing with scalping as well. You're not guaranteed to get the maximum move. I mean, if you let this run, absolutely, you will get the maximum move. But, right, if you want to just aim for a specific set, because this could have easily reversed on us. You can see at this point it started going oversold, and, in a different world, this might have been an opportunity for this to go up, right? This could have been sort of the retracement, up, down, and then up. And so what I'm trying to get at is we can sort of predict when something is going to dump even before it dumps by looking at a higher time frame, whether that's your 1 hour or 4 hour, and seeing whether it's exhausted, its move, and we can scalp from there. But we're not guaranteed to basically get the entire move. So I think I had a Solana scalp around November, right? Complete take profit, like reached the full take profit and whatnot. And I basically missed most of the move because I was scalping it rather than swinging it. And so, again, pointers, look at a higher time frame, right? If you're scalping, lower time frame, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, up to you, or 1 minute even, right? But you need a higher time frame, and that could either be in the form of the 1 hour or 4 hour. You want to look at whether the higher time frame is starting to get exhausted, and then going back to your lower time frame and looking for that point of exhaustion and then entering from there. And you have to also fully expect that you might get drawdown, and you want to put your stop loss above maybe a higher time frame's resistance so that you have basically a very decent buffer from there. Then just aim for a 1 to 1.5 or 1 to 2 risk to reward ratio. Yeah. Yeah, but your bias should come from the higher time frames. So let me see who else is in chat. I saw Armac drop by. Hey Armac, hey Dimitar, hey Ninja Master, hey Flying Dutchman. Welcome to the show. Let's look at my battery. It's at 25% and I still have a whopping 40 minutes. So I'm gonna look for a place to maybe sit where there's a plug. Yeah. The wonders of being here. Okay, here's a plug. All right. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Always bring a universal adapter when you go abroad. That's the smart thing to do. And I left my phone on the seat. I'll be right back. But okay, I got an alert on TradingView to look at BNB because it's overbought on the 1 hour and then 30 minutes. So we'll be looking at that real quick. But yeah, I hope everyone's, well, I would like to greet everyone in advance Happy New Year's Eve and Happy New Year for that case, because we don't have a live tomorrow because it's New Year's Eve. And, you know, pro analysts also have to basically rest. But yeah. Oh, better lighting. So, don't know if you guys want to see my mug, but here we are. Let's look at chat. I can see I'm incredibly slow. Yeah, actually, for Zek, I would say it's still pretty good. And basically, my logic for that is, you can see here, we did get that bearish div, and we are likely to head up. But what I'm looking at here is the fluid zero line. How high are we, or how high can this fluid zero line go? And the higher it goes, the more likely it is to just cascade down. And so when we enter at around 570 and we get that move, you know, your bullish divergences are basically going to allow you to get to that entry point. And I believe on my analysis, I was also basing it off the 12 hours. So if I hop on in and let me look at when the market dumps rapidly and we have short trades open, please advise when to take profit. I close. I mean, of course I can advise, right? But I also can't fully say when we're going to finish dumping. Because unlike with scalping and sort of swinging, with swinging I can say, okay, we're not fully exhausted yet on the move to the downside, so I don't think we're done yet. But with scalping, it's very difficult to say. But if I call the trade and I think that there's still room to go, then of course I'm going to advise, right? But I don't think I was the one calling the shots yesterday, apart from the Bitcoin Cash swing short. So yeah, but I'll do what I can, of course. Displacement looking even better, lol. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, my laptop is frozen. It's not switching the time frame. This is fantastic. 12 hour? 12 hour? 12 hour? No, no, no load. Okay, rough. Anyways, let's leave Zek alone for now. Maybe it's being moody. Or actually, you know what? Let's maybe if I load Zek instead over here, we can probably get something better. Or to load properly. Right, let's go to Bluefin because that's what I trade on. Okay. 12 hour and 1 hour. Come on, don't be shy. Yeah, it's not the best, but you know, as a mobile setup, because I am traveling, it's the best I can do. I mean, I don't want to bring a whole PC with me, and I don't think I can because pretty sure the airline regulation would just be like, no. But it is what it is. You gotta work with what you've got. Right? Okay. 12 hours loading. So, yeah. For example, this 12-hour wick, it was technically bearish, but you did end up closing pretty bullish, long wick to the upside here from the downside. And here in the 1 hour, by the time you get to 571, right, I do think you're going to get overbought, and you're going to basically get to the point on the MVP oscillator where you test your fluid zero line again and you sort of reject off it. So I'm fairly confident with the Zec short still. I'm not too worried about it, and I'm just going to let it do its thing generally. But uh, let me load BNB here on the chart. Oh wow, 48 minutes already, and it's 2.7 gigs. Crazy. And then I'm gonna have to handbrake it, upload it to YT so you guys can easily access the live post recording. Well, it all has to do with market capital and as well as generally the interest, right? So um, how you spot them is generally through the screener. So you can use Prime Screener, but also you can basically it's also fundamental analysis. So you're gonna have to look at websites that sort of also scan different coins and generally just look at whether or not the volume or money flow is going into them. So it's going to be hard to demonstrate today because of the fact that I can't even load something on TradingView, but there are tutorials online, um, and Renair is also good at spotting them, so you can probably ask him. Because generally, I trade the top 50. I don't like trading below the top 50 just because basically your safety reasons, as well as by the time you get to very small market cap coins, things get very unpredictable and they can basically just outright ignore your technical analysis in favor of fundamental and not being able to rely, or basically rendering your chart prime tools not useless but less reliable, I don't like that. So I kind of steer away from those coins generally. But for example, with Beat, you can see that it did respect a lot of our tools, and the only reason I couldn't, or I didn't, or chose not to trade it was because I had quite a few positions open already, and I didn't want to overtrade. Oh no, is that true for everyone? How is my hello? How's my voice? Is it fine? Is that true for everyone? Is my audio okay? Okay. Yeah, these mobile setups are really not it. Okay. Okay. I can restart. So essentially, oh, what is happening here? Oh dear. So essentially, you can go through Prime Screener to see how certain coins are performing, but you can also do your fundamental analysis. So you're gonna have to go online, maybe to CoinGecko or CoinGlass, and see which coins are experiencing sort of an increase in money flow or volume. Uh, because when you have increasing activity but not a translation in price, that means you're essentially spotting moments before a potential move to either the upside or downside, right? And you could probably ask Runair. He's more experienced in this because I generally just I generally just trade the top 50 because of security and predictability reasons. But also, right, when you start dealing with coins below the top 50, you're dealing with coins with generally lower market cap. And so just a tiny increase in market cap translates to an incredible increase in price and therefore an increase in volatility. And volatility is our friend, but it can also be our enemy. It's kind of a love hate relationship. So, how you spot coins early, Prime Screener, research fundamentally on which coins, whether that's very unknown coins, right? And um, and essentially use your chart prime tools to determine whether that the moments before activity is either a push to the upside or downside. Now, to address why our bigger alts are not moving as much is because, they have bigger market caps, they're more relied on BTC. And for some of these altcoins, they're being used as ETFs, they're being um, they're being held by institutions, and so those guys don't really want price to basically swing as high or low, and we're essentially just waiting for it to make a move, and BNB is really not loading. Man, that's rough. Move slightly out. All right. Is this better? Is this better? Question mark. Hello? Is this better? I moved slightly out. And I'm hoping that that results in. Oof. Yeah, is this better? Slightly. Oh man. Mobile setups. But yeah. Um, hey Cobalt. Hey Mudman. Welcome to the show, guys. It's a little difficult to basically talk because essentially I'm on the ground, but um, yeah. Uh, what was the last thing you heard? Question mark. It's incredibly slow. So when the recording comes of this, it's going to be a complete laugh trip. But actually, I will. As well as BTC. A tiny result can result into a larger move in price action. Okay. All right. So, can you guys hear me by any chance? Is this better? Uh, I hope it is because at least my chart has loaded now. I think it also might have to do with my laptop just overheating at the moment. Okay, perfect. So, um, just to basically recap what I said very quickly, right? To basically spot those coins beforehand, you want to use Prime Screener. You want to have maybe CoinGlass or CoinGecko open to see, um, or basically observe which coins have increasing activity but no noticeable increase in price yet. And then from there, use your chart prime tools to basically determine whether that translation in activity will result in a move to the upside or downside. So it's a very hands-on approach to trading, uh, and you got to be glued to your screen for a set time within the day. And I think definitely among the three of are among the three very active pro analysts, so Naz, uh, Runair, and I think Naz is probably the one who has better screening, but Runair is the one who spots the more esoteric coins. So you can definitely consult with them as well on their thoughts. since I basically trade the top 50 for both security and sort of predictability reasons. So, for example, I got an alert here on BNB that it was starting to get overbought, but seeing what I'm seeing now, I kind of don't want to touch or basically short BNB as much as possible. You know, it is bullish momentum overall, right? Even if this is bearish, it is flipping bullish. We are getting a push to the upside, and you can say that this is sort of an inverted head and shoulders. You can, I wouldn't, but you can. Um, you are getting exhausted here on the lower time frames, but it's not enough to basically say short me, right? So with that said, like, you can ignore BNB for now, and if you guys have any coins you might want me to look at, just let me know, because, well, right now price action's really not giving us anything exciting to work with. So Ondo, this is a long that we have at 0.3619. I'm sort of waiting for it to head down. You know, your 4 hour does say we want to head down, and your 30 minutes got above the fluid zero line, but it could crash back down. Actually, it might be worth shorting Ondo right now, because we are getting that bearish cross eventually, or like right now. SQD, okay, let's look at SQD. So unfortunately, it doesn't have a blow fin. Oh no, it does. Okay, subsquid. Alright, let's wait for the indicators to load. So, real downside of not being at home. But don't worry, guys, I'll be back. I'll be back by January 2, which means that the earliest show where we get sort of the same predictable quality is going to be January 6. So, yeah, I'll see you guys after the new year. Oh, no, 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 go back to, no, no. Go back to squid, please. Bluefin. There we go. Okay, but immediately here on the 4 hour, we do get that diamond shift. Now, the reason why we might still be pumping is because if you see your fluid zero line, you are overall still bullish. And so you want that fluid zero line to basically catch up with your MVP oscillator, because otherwise it's really just going to run. And yeah, this is not it. Man, can you guys still hear me? Can you guys still hear me? Question mark. Okay. But yeah, yep, things are still loading. It's rough. It's rough. Very rough. Okay. Let me see if maybe I can just load it up on Ondo for now, because it's just not loading at all. Subsquid. Okay. It at least loaded the 4 hour immediately. Okay. Yep. Okay. So here with Subsquid, right? The reason why we might still be pushing is because notice how on your higher time frame, your fluid zero line is still way below the zero line, which means that everything above it is bullish. And so even if you've got overbought signals, bearish divergence, you got your diamond trend shift, it doesn't mean that you're going to fall straight away. What we need to do is wait for our fluid zero line to basically get closer to our ribbon to a point where it's going to want to just capitulate to the downside. Notice here on your 30 minutes, even if your fluid zero line is really high up, right, you're still basically finding ways of getting above it. And so what I would do is I'd send an alert right at around the premium zone right now. Set an alert right here, and I'd set an alert right below the swing low here on the 30 minutes. And I just wait. I'll just wait, because if we continue to push, we'll go to this next resistance, right? So I'll set an alert at the resistance, and I suspect by the time we get to this resistance, our fluid zero line will have moved closer to the ribbon, and therefore that would be a better place to maybe take a short. But right now, squid is overextended, or subsquid is overextended, right? It made a nice rally to the upside, but we can basically capitalize on the fact that it's going to be overextended, and we can probably short from there. So if I zoom out, your measured move did place you all the way up here. So I'm also going to put a nice alert above our fluid zero line, maybe slightly above our resistance line, slightly below our measured move right here on the 4-hour, and just wait it out. Now if I zoom out to the 12-hour, right, if it loads, that is. But actually, I think that I might have to cut this live short because of the fact that oh shit, yeah, that's my lifeline right here. But yeah, I might have to cut the live short, guys, because my laptop is at 12%. Uh, and I'm not confident it's going to last for the next 22 minutes. So unfortunately, I will have to cut the live short. Uh, but yeah, I hope you guys still learned something. I do apologize about like the quality and sort of. Actually, no, it's charging now. I think we'll be fine. Hopefully. Can you guys hear me still? Am I still audible by any chance? Um, my laptop's charging now, so okay, perfect. Yeah. Again, I really do apologize about the quality, guys. It's just mobile setup and everything, and battery sucks on 2018 MacBook. It's probably real time to upgrade. It's been 7 years, but I think we'll extend this um, up until maybe I graduate. So when I turn 22, that's when I'll upgrade to the flagship by then. But yeah, let's see if I can load Squid back up. But what we do notice about Squid, and thank you, uh, Malik, for bringing it up, is that did get rejected off this resistance, which was the previous month high. But notice how we still have room to move. Granted, we do have weakening bullish trend strength. And so that tells me that we could push up a little higher because of our money flow. But notice how our chick magnet, or basically a target for price action, or where price action wants to go, according to the calculations I'm not sure of, but I trust because it's chart prime, is around 0.7328. So even a short, potentially even a short right here, or where our resistance line was earlier, with our stop loss above that 4-hour resistance, right? And then with our take profit down here, would give us a nice 2 point, around 2. So we can actually lower that a bit, right? To get a nice 2.65 risk to reward. So it might be something I would be interested in looking at. Definitely will review this in a while. And now my battery's not charging again, which is horrifying, because it's at 13%. You guys can't see it, but yeah. Let me check chat again. So right now, it might be difficult to demonstrate how to get the fluids. I'll try, right? But essentially, in case you still need like the step by step, I do go over it in my channel, so it's pinned to my signals channel. Just look for general trading strategy under Langestrom, and you'll see it 100%. Essentially, what you want to do is click these 3 buttons, right? Click more, add indicator. You want to basically look for an indicator that lets you place a moving average. Now, some people have told me that they don't have moving average ribbon for some reason. That might be because of your TradingView subscription plan, but in any case, what we'll do from there is when we add it, we'll go to settings, we'll turn off all the different MAs. We just need one. And for this one, I like to use SMA, but you can use from a variety of different moving averages. You want to change the length of your SMA to 144. The reason being 144 is sort of enough candles to really smooth things out and give you a nice, accurate idea of that fluid zero line. I changed the color to white. You can change it to any color you like. And then I go change the thickness to the second one. Then I turn this off so that it becomes a lot nicer and clearer. And then from here, this is the important part. You want to go to the source, and you want to scroll down all the way to the second to the last. You can do the last one, but I prefer second to the last. And hit second to the last, press OK, and there you go. It's added into your chart. And again, if you need to basically go through this step by step, not only will I record this video, but if you go to to my channel and check the pinned messages, there's going to be a general trading routine or strategy. I forgot the title. It's a Google Drive link. And around halfway through, I go over how to add the fluid zero line. So no worries there. Yeah, I hope that answers your question. We still have 15 minutes on the show, and thankfully, my battery decided to cooperate, and now it's charging. So yeah. I see Shell4319, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me a day before Christmas Eve. But yeah, this looks promising. I'll keep an eye on Subsquid moving forward, because it does look like we could get some nice moves on Subsquid. Yeah. But with that said, let's look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, and whatnot, right? She sort of got rejected again, and I was saying that we could have shorted it at around this area at the start of the show, and we are getting overbought here on the 1 hour. But I kind of want to see where our fluid zero line is before I make a judgment. Because our fluid zero line here on the 5 minute is ready to sort of capitulate to the downside. But I need this to load. Okay. Okay, so we are testing the fluid zero line right now. We do have a check magnet down here. We could probably short Bitcoin back down to this area, but the RR wouldn't make a lot of sense and we could get liquidated as a result. So something like this would make sense to me. But yeah, the risk to reward isn't worth it. We're always trying to aim for at least 1 to 1.5, and if this is what we're playing with, then it's probably not worth it at the moment. So fortunately no scalps, and the fact that the laptop is acting up isn't that great either. But Subsquid does look good in terms of potentially shorting it on a higher time frame. So I'll look into this more. So once again, thank you, Malik, for bringing my attention to Subsquid, and also look at Subsquid as a whole to see what it is and just do some fundamental analysis on it. With that said, we still have about 12 minutes on the show, but my battery's not charging anymore, and it's at 11%. So unfortunately, I do think I will have to call it a day. But thank you guys so much for joining me on the show before New Year's Eve. I do appreciate everything we've gone through over the past quarter of the year, and for all your support, and just really making this community as great as it is, and just interacting with me. I love it. Thank you guys so much. And I'll be back next week. So there's no show tomorrow. I'll be back next week, and I'll have a proper setup by then, since I'll be in my room, typical red wall room. And yeah, I will upload this as soon as I can. But with that said, I am Langestrom, and thank you guys for joining me. And don't forget to always use a stop loss. So I'll see you guys next week. See ya.